Investec Bank is listing the Investec Australia Property Fund on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange later this week. It owns a number of commercial and industrial buildings in Canberra and Melbourne. A later listing on the Australian Securities Exchange may occur early next year. This one sounds interesting, Evan.
It's very interesting for me, and it's just all the new listings are giving you something different. We spoke about a tech, very much a development focus. We're speaking about an Australian exclusive fund, and we'll speak about Africa Land, which is very much focused in Africa. I really do like this with regards to pricing and potential growth. Acquisitional growth will be there. I
just need to check, did I say Canberra?
I think it's Canberra.
It is definitely Canberra, because in my first news bulletin ever, I said Canberra, and the whole world came back at me saying that I didn't know anything about geography. So I'm just clarifying, I did say Canberra.
I'm not entirely certain. You've got to go and look at the actual pre-listing docs, but there's a bunch of buildings, commercial and retail, distribution centres and so on out there in Australia, which Investec has assembled for the purpose of this listing. So they're targeting South African investors who want offshore property exposure, and that is where they're coming with the Australia thing. But I think, as Evan says, the pricing looks quite interesting. It's not enormous, but I suppose, again, with Investec's track record and its business presence down in Australia, I imagine they're going to add additional stuff to this thing.
I thought you were pointing me to a host of documents on whether it was Canberra or Canberra, but you've obviously moved on from that. All right, Evan, so hot or not on Investec, is there anything else that you want to add before we go to that?
You know, I'm very hot on this at the moment. The reason being is coming to the market in hard currency at a forward yield of around about 7%, but that has no gearing. If they go to the Australian average around about 45% gearing, just on that alone can get you near on 9%. So just balance sheet alone can get your growth into double digits for at least the next 2 years. So I'm very hot on the stock.
Exciting. Paul, hot or not?
Look, it sounds fine. I mean, when you're going offshore, look, this is something you can buy in South Africa, which is offshore based. And if it can deliver the growth and the yields and so on that Evan's talking about, sounds hot to me, yeah.
Well, I'm glad you went with what the property expert singled out as very hot.